So, Happy Death Day to You, the sequel to Happy Death Day. If you might recall, the first Happy Death Day film involved Tree, the college student, who ends up reliving the same day over and over and over because she has Groundhog Day syndrome. And apparently, the curse won't be broken unless she can find out who the true killer is, who keeps on trying to kill her all this time. And it seems like she resolved that in the first film. But then in the second film, she discovers that someone else has the curse. This other student called Ryan Fan, played by Fivu. Jessica Roth comes back to play Tree again. But this might... Now, initially, I was kind of interested in this concept. I'm like, okay, well, now Ryan has this problem of, a killer coming after him, and he's reliving the same day over and over. It's like, okay, you know what? This could actually be pretty cool. This could be kind of like, like an Edge of Tomorrow type thing, where he basically has to, he has to take on the role, and he kind of learns from Tree in the same way that Tom Cruise's character in Edge of Tomorrow had to learn from Emily Blunt, because she had been through this before. So you could have a cool dynamic there. And at first it starts off kind of cool. They realize that, he's living through the same day, and that there's some abnormalities going on here. Like when they find out who the true killer is, and they're like, oh man, there's some kind of weird dimension or time travel shifting going on here. There's some crazy crap happening here. But then the film, it nosedives so fast from here. So, okay, like, they do the one thing that I wanted this film not to do, which was that, like, imagine if they made a sequel to the Groundhog Day where they provided, like, more like, kind of like a scientific explanation why Bill Murray kept reliving the same day over and over. They do that exact thing here in Happy Death Day to You. They explain that, the reason that instead of, like, being some kind of, like, having some kind of, like odd mystery behind it, where you don't quite question, you just kind of like the assembly of it, this film attempts to explain that with a ridiculous science experiment that's going on in the lab, and, like, a time travel experiment has gone awry, and that's why she keeps reliving the same day over and over and over again. And it's like, okay, fine, if that's how you got to get the story going, but just as long as we can keep the thrill and the mystery going, I'm fine with that. But then it, like I said, it nosedives really quick because something goes wrong with the machine, and apparently Tree is sent back to do the exact same thing she did in the first film. She's on the exact same day, she's reliving the same events, except there's differences here. Now her mother's alive. Now she's not with her boyfriend. Now a few different characters from campus are much different. And then it's basically she has to decide whether or not she wants to keep this reality or go back to her own reality through the time travel method. But in order to do the time travel method, she's got to find the right algorithm and the right sequence, and she's also got to solve a murder mystery, but she kind of doesn't because she just keeps on dying. So she just have to go back in time. Then she wouldn't have to solve the murder mystery. So it's like it gets convoluted as crap. I will say this. I do think Jessica Roth she's not too bad in the role. Like, she's naturally frazzled. I think her character works here. I could see someone getting angry with her character because she doesn't understand time travel logic, and she doesn't understand the mistakes that she's making here. But they kind of address that because she's apparently never seen Back to the Future, which some of the characters reference at one point, because they talk about this. Like, oh man, this is just like Back to the Future too. Now, it's funny they should mention that, because I actually kind of consider Back to the Future 2 one of the worst entries of... Don't get me wrong, I love the Back to the Future trilogy, but I consider Part 2 the weakest. And I think that Happy Death Day 2 is kind of in that similar line, because it's essentially just retelling certain events just a little bit differently. And then it's basically just going through the same motions. We still got the death montage where she jumps out of planes without parachutes. She does one really ridiculous kill where she gives everyone the middle finger while in her underwear and toppling off a building. Kind of funny. But here, this at the core is the biggest problem with this film. Is that, like, my initial thought going into this film was like, okay, it's kind of a ridiculous concept. If they can go more ridiculous with it, I could kind of dig it. Kind of like in a off-the-rails Gremlins 2 type of way. But the problem is, like, a lot of these gigs, they're trying so hard to be funny, but not all that, like, clever. Like, my jaw dropped to the floor when at one point they have to get back their science project because the principal who doesn't, not the principal, whoever's in charge of the science department doesn't understand and wants to lock up their science experiment. So they have to get the keys from the guard. And so one of the students decides to put on a stereotypical French outfit and pretend to be blind so that she can seduce the guy with the keys, and like because she's blind she can do all this slapstick type of stuff. I was just, this is a cartoon. Everything that, even the way they portray like the guy who locks up their science experiment at school, he's a straight up cartoon character. Everything from the way he talks, to his mannerisms, to the way he walks, like I'm the big man in charge around here. Everything is just so over the top cartoony, and not in kind of like a like oh, this is kind of goofy and fun type of way. No, it's like it's desperate for comedy to the point where I was starting to get flashbacks of like, you know, like kind of like bad 1980s comedies or like teen comedies that tried so hard to be funny. Like with that French stereotype sequence, all I could think about was like the scene in the Porky sequel where the woman where one of the girls puts on like fake boobs and tries to go into like a rich club and tries to act all like, you know, like dapper and everything, and she ends up just making a mess of the whole place. It just, a lot of this comedy just really dragged on. And when the comedy isn't dragging on, they also try to make it, you know, sentimental. They try to, you know, bring Tree's relationship with her mother into it, but it just comes off as corny melodrama whenever they go into that. Whenever they're trying to address the time logic, it's just, it drags on and on and on. To the point it's like, okay, I kind of get it. And after a while, the more that this assembly keeps going, the more you start questioning Tree's decisions here, because she has several points to go back and fix everything, but then she feels like, oh, I kind of like this life. Oh, no, I don't. Oh, I kind of like it. Oh, no, I don't. It's like, wasn't there like a timeline thing you had to fix here? And they throw all this crap in here to make it seem like there's more on the line here with like her relationships and her mother, and apparently she gets weaker with each time she goes back for some reason, which we don't clearly address, which I'm kind of fine with because I wish there were more mystery in here. But then there's like the other issue too, is like the murder mystery. There's still a guy in a babyface mask that's killing people, but it seems so secondary to this time travel nonsense that when they finally make the big reveal of who the killer is when they take off the mask, it's like, okay, you haven't been that involved in the mystery, so you kind of realize like, oh, okay, yeah, I forgot there was a murder mystery going on here, wasn't there? Yeah, okay, well, we solved the case. You didn't really need to because you were going to go back in time and everything was going to be fixed anyway, so what was the point of that? What was the point of having, I mean, other than the fact that you just have someone in a baby mask murdering people again? And the time travel launch, it just goes off the rails here to the point where the post-credit scene is so dumb. Oh my god. The reveal they have here, like clearly they want to set up for a third film. I think the people behind this thing, like, yeah, they got an idea for the third film. The ideas they present at the end of the film are just like, I'll just say this, it's no longer horror anymore. It's pretty much just sci-fi. Like the murder mystery aspect, secondary to everything that's going on here, pretty much. Other than the fact that you get to see someone in a baby mask kill some people, but man, I wish there was more mystery to this. I don't like having all of this stuff here that's explained away. It's like oh yeah, the time loop stuff. Well, we got a reason for that. And there's even still a few more aspects that are left on the table here that I think the filmmakers will say like, oh well, we're gonna, don't worry, we'll answer that in the next one. It's like, no, don't turn it into the Saw franchise where every single sequel they have to explain what they didn't explain in the last film. It's like I don't need to have you explain why you keep going back in time. I'm fine if it's just like some curse or something like that. I don't know. Maybe I was just getting something different out of the film, but a lot of the gags dragged. It was really hard to get in a lot of these characters. They're really trying hard for jokes here, and none of them are landing here. So I mean, outside of the performance by Jessica Rothe, I got nothing out of this film. I was struggling to get through this thing because it goes through so many of the same motions here. And you think that, you know, Jessica Rothe's character of Tree, you think that for going through so many of these scenarios, she'd be a little bit wiser and know a little bit more. But I guess, you know, dying 11 times and trying to solve a mystery doesn't quite make you that great. Maybe you got to die like 10 or 20 more times after that to become just a tad bit smarter when it comes to dimensions and time travel logic and stuff like that. So Man, I wanted to like this film because, like I said, it starts off with a great premise. I love Fivu in this role where he has to now figure out this the mystery of reliving the same day over and over. That could have been a cool concept here, especially with what they present in like the first like 15 minutes of the film. And then they throw all that away for just repeating the same crap that they did from the last film. It's just like, man, it's so much wasted potential. So much wasted potential here. And I really wanted to love this film. I think it's a great concept. I love this Groundhog Day type logic where people have to relive the same day over and over. But I've rarely seen it done with like sequels. And after seeing Happy Death Day to You, I'm not really sure I want a sequel. You can hold off on Groundhog Day 2, okay? We're fine with the first film, okay? So for Happy Death Day to You, 1.5 out of 5 stars.